Hello, welcome back to AutMouse Labs. My name's Penny and I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to be improving on the Steel plugin we made last week by using plugin commands instead of script commands, and we're going to debug it a little bit, and we're going to make it so that the user can change the DC or difficulty of stealing within the engine. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll begin by taking a look at our code. We're going to make it a little bigger so y'all can see it, and we'll just close this. So made a few changes up top here. I added an argument. If you don't know how that works, I do have a previous video that goes over that. But we declared an argument with the name target number, set the text that the user sees, the description of what it does, its type, its minimum and maximum value, and its default value. Then next up, we did all of this last time. At the bottom, there used to be a line that said aml.updateAction.call this. It actually causes a bug, so I had to go ahead and remove it. So this is the same, except for that line was removed. This is where it gets new. So before, we had a line that said aml.steal equals function, and then we defined the function. This time, we're tying it into the engine. So pluginmanager.register command is a built-in function of RPG Maker MZ that allows you to register a command. We feed it the plugin name, which our plugin name is defined up here, const plugin name equals AML Steel 2024. Reminder that the plugin name has to be the same as the name of your file without the JS. And that's also covered in an earlier video. So the plugin name, the name of our command, which we're just going to make Steel, any arguments we need, which is how it grabs this argument from up here, target number, and then run a function. This part's the same. Nothing's changed here. Remembering that our aml.roll3d6 is defined in another file, and it's in both TT skills, which I showed was one of our earlier plugins. I've also created a core, which you'll take things out of your plugins and put them into a core. Make sure the user puts core first, and then everything in there can be used by your plugins. So this is the same. We now define our target number as a number from our arguments. So it's going to take whatever that argument is, 11 by default, and change it from a string 11 to a number 11. Then, this has not changed. We are going to check and see if there is a target, and if there is a target, does that target have data in the note tags to determine what items can be stolen. This is our next change. So I have a new if statement that says if item.includes. The .includes is a function that's built into JavaScript ES6. So it is a piece of JavaScript we can use within RPG Maker MZ. And we're looking for the phrase steal. So if we go over to the engine and we go to our enemy slime, in our note, we have to have the phrase steal or it'll ignore it. This way, if you have note tags for, say, another plugin, it won't try to turn those into items. So that is something new that makes our plugin more compatible with other people's. So if it includes steal, then go ahead and do what we did before, which is create an array and push the number into our array that we created up here, temp steal q. This has not changed. If the roll is greater than or equal to the target number, which is 11 by default, but now the user can change it, then pick a random item from the list and give it to the player. Then use the log to tell the player if they were successful, and if so, what they stole. And if they weren't successful, that they weren't able to steal anything. So it's about 80% the same as it was before, but it checks to make sure that we don't damage other people's plugins. It allows the user to change the DC, and it makes sure that there is a little bit more sort of error checking and debugging, which is just a part of coding. All right, as far as setting it up in the engine, that has changed quite a bit because we went from using a script command to a plugin command. So let's take a look at that. So we still have a skill that we're calling steal. This is still set up the same. It's still a common event that is, we're going to look at it in a minute. It does a little bit of damage, and then it calls the common event. You don't have to do damage. You could have your HP damage formula be whatever you want, or even have that off. Doesn't matter. I just like to have kind of a mug function. Down in common events, it used to just be a script command, which is over on 3 script command, and we said aml.steal, which means run the steal command. But now that it's a plugin command, we don't have to do that. Nobody has to memorize that. Instead, you can do a plugin command. We go to our plugin, which is our steal, execute steal command, use a common event tied to a skill to create a steal skill. Target number, this is where the user could make it harder to steal or easier to steal if they wanted, or they could stick with the 11. Hit OK, and there you go. It'll now do exactly what it did before, but with more control, less errors, and easier to read. So that is how you start to make your plugins sort of easier for someone to use. If you're doing it, if you're only making them for you, and you want to keep it just sort of down and dirty, go for it. But this way, you can start giving your plugins to other people, and they'll be able to use them easily. Hopefully this was helpful. We're going to keep building our skills as we go. Happy game making out there. Please consider a like and subscribe. Take care.